Former cocaine-snorting BBC star Richard Bacon has said if you wave the flag in this country, it means that you want the country to be white. That's a lie, and I called it out in today's Dolan's Dispatch, which has made a massive splash on the programme this morning. Anne, brilliant, Mark, you've nailed it. And how about this from Scooby Sue, who says, Mark, please remind Lenny Henry that the British people have already donated millions and millions to countries that he feels we've damaged through children in need that he fronted. Ungrateful, shallow-minded fool. That's from Sue. And how about this from David? Mark, I love your Dolan's Dispatch. It's very true. These champagne socialists need to get a life. But oh, and he likes my tie today. Well, thank you for that. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see what I'm wearing. Just go to YouTube and search Talk. But a big reaction to my call from Richard in Poole about the devastating impact of migrant hotels on Bournemouth and the surrounding area. And this from Sally, who in London says, hi, Mark. Richard's call has made me cry because he's 100% correct and it's just so sad. Hi, says Anthony, I just emigrated from the UK. I also lived in East London and can relate to Richard. I'd love to chat live to Mark Dolan. Well, Anthony, let's do that. Give me a call, 0344 499 1000. Richard has, Dan in Kent has said, Mark, a fantastic call by Richard in Poole. That is what Talk is all about. Sandra in Essex, hi, Mark, any hotel given over to the government for housing illegal migrants should be boycotted if they return to normal hotel use. John says, hi Mark, Bournemouth became a city of sanctuary a few years ago to make illegal refugees welcome and encourage additional support. Weston-super-Mare stopped being a council of sanctuary a few weeks ago. The public, supported by local Reform UK members, stopped it. It can be done. Let's get reaction now from two good friends of mine. We have Reem Ibrahim, who's the communications manager at IEA, and the outstanding meteorologist and political broadcaster, Jim Dale. Great to see both of you.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I think we're going to have an interesting conversation about this, Reem, because you are pretty conservative, small c conservative when it comes to the economy, quite liberal on immigration. So where do you stand on the impact of migrant hotels in a town like Bournemouth?
I think really this is about the fact that the taxpayers are footing the bill for these migrant hotels. So you are right in saying that generally speaking, I want the government to stay out of our way. I don't want the government to tell businesses who they can and cannot hire, for example. But this is an entirely different situation. This is a situation in which the people of Bournemouth are effectively being forced to take on this group of people that aren't working, and taxpayers are footing the bill for it. That is absolutely outrageous, and I think that it's very clear when you speak to people, when you hear about the emotion that they are really facing at the moment. But also there have been so many stories over the weekend over a lot of these migrants who have been put into prison for various different issues, whether it be sort of petty crimes. They've then been released when they should have been deported, and instead what has happened is they've gone and committed even worse crimes. So there was a case last week of that migrant that murdered a schoolboy. I mean, you know, what is effectively happening is we are allowing these people to stay. I think it's interesting that the Home Secretary did say, if you are a foreign migrant and you've come to the UK and you've committed a crime, you'll be deported immediately. I hope that is the case. That is something that everybody across Britain has been crying out for literally years. So it will be interesting to see if it happens. But look, I mean, as I said, I'm pro-immigration when it comes to legal migration, people that are actually contributing. But when you come here illegally and taxpayers are being forced to foot the bill, effectively we're being taken for fools.
It's not just money, is it? Because, of course, that is a scandal. What are we looking at? £3 to £4 billion a year for the migrant hotels?
Yeah, it's insane.
Which would pay for free school meals for every child in the country and many other things it would pay for.
Indeed. Or tax cuts, right? Or the fact that, you know, we're paying the highest tax bills.
But last time I looked, in terms of what the government is planning, they're planning to close these hotels. So transition is where we are at this moment in time. It will take time, because I think, you know, let's just have common sense here. If people arrive in boats illegally, they can't be turned back to France. That's not going to happen, because it would be just a to and a fro. You'd be at war with France. So they've got to go somewhere. And at the moment, where we are at this moment in time is we're picking up from 14 years of, and remember where they started. It started with the Conservative Party putting them into hotels. So 1 year and a bit later, Labour have had to pick that up. And now they're saying they're going to move away from that policy. It will take time. but I don't see anybody out there saying what the alternative is at this moment in time. It's an unfortunate thing, but we're not the only people, as you well know, in Europe. In fact, we're in terms of migrants generally, illegal migrants, we take a lot less than most European countries.
I don't want to be like Europe. I mean, I was just recently in Brussels, actually, and I remember thinking, so I'm half Moroccan, right? I remember calling up my mum saying, God, you know, Morocco must be really safe right now because all of the Moroccan criminals seem to have come to Belgium. I mean, literally, you come to places like Brussels, even when you look at France, and it feels like absolute mayhem. The streets are covered, homeless people absolutely everywhere, the majority of whom are clearly probably illegal migrants. I mean, I've got no evidence for that, by the way, but it's just absolutely insane what is currently happening.
Well, they don't
in
have
Europe.
work, they're not pursuing a career. It's likely that they are illegal immigrants.
So I think France is effectively what the UK will be like in 5 years' time if we don't do anything about it.
What we have to do is we have to go back to the starting point. Why is this happening at all?
Because they get free stuff.
Are we ready for the climate change klaxon?
Well, there's a little bit of that. Of course there is. You go to places like Somalia, Sudan, these places are baking hot, no
I'm
water,
sorry, that's just not true.
It is true.
No, it's not true.
Climate migration is part of the equation.
It's not true that the people that are coming to this country are coming here illegally because of climate change.
So where else are we going? Afghanistan, Palestine. Where are we going in terms of where are these people coming from?
How many of the migrants we currently have are actually coming from those countries?
From Afghanistan. We left a lot of people who helped us during the wars there.
And we've let those people come, but the people that are coming currently on the boats are not coming from those countries. They're coming from France. They are not fleeing war.
A safe country.
They're not French. Hang on, they're not French. We're talking about people from
France, a safe country, and coming to the United Kingdom for benefits, free hotels, free dentistry, free driving lessons. That's why they're coming.
Why are they coming to the UK?
Why are they coming to the UK? Is because
we're a soft touch. Because we're mugs.
We're
being mugged off.
As I've already suggested to you, and it's true that they're mostly going to European countries, so they're spreading themselves around. They're looking for a better life. That's probably the way it is.
A lot of these people. So I have no problem with people wanting to have a better life. Absolutely no problem with that whatsoever.
That would be the majority.
I am very supportive of economic migration where those people are working and contributing. Unfortunately, a lot of these people have been allowed to stay in the United Kingdom and literally murder our school children. I am sorry, but I will not sit here and say that those people have come here because of climate change.
That's just a massive exaggeration.
It's not.
Murdering school children. Look, if you want to look at crime in the UK,
what about the sexual assault of the Bell Hotel?
Yeah, it can happen,
Epping.
of course, in any population.
And what about the casual harassment of local women?
Yeah, look, all of that is minuscule compared to.
Don't say that harassment of women is minuscule.
No, the harassment of women is mainly from middle-aged white people.
Here we go again. Don't go anywhere, folks. He's just had a Gary Neville moment. Yeah. More on this in
it's absolutely true.
Don't go anywhere.
Just that I'm pro-immigration, people are working.
There you go. Look, it's all kicked off. We're on the radio, we're on TV, and my brilliant guests are really at each other's throats this morning. We have the communications manager at the IEA, the Institute of Economic Affairs, Reem Ibrahim, and the highly respected meteorologist and political broadcaster, Jim Dale. And Jim, the issue we've got with illegal immigration is that people are not happy with it. And actually, if you take people out of the migrant hotels and put them in an army barracks, you're just shifting the problem to another part of a city. These people are still free to roam during the day. They have pocket money, they have mobile phones. The public have had enough.
Yeah, let's look at those two words, illegal immigration, because me and Reem, we can agree that immigration, and I think most people would agree, because it's happened throughout history, we are all in some shape or form immigrants. In other words, the Vikings, the Romans, etc., etc. So we've always had a multi-ethnicity population. That's always been the case.
We had sensible levels of immigration, didn't we? 10,000, 15,000 a year throughout the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, but the problem is the illegal bit, which this government is trying its best, left with a legacy that was untenable, and that's what's being picked up at this moment in time.
Your solution is to move them to an army barracks. Well, that, by the way, is still going to cost billions because they have to be, made appropriate for habitation.
What's your solution? What is the solution?
Oh, my solution is a very simple one.
Go on.
I would detain anyone that enters the country illegally.
Where? in an hotel?
I'd build Nightingale-style accommodation, which would be secure. Because if you enter the country illegally, you've broken the law. You are a criminal.
Mark,
a criminal should be incarcerated.
It sounds exactly the same.
Anything you like, barbed wire, yes. But what I would do is I would not give these folk liberty.
Remember, you've got within those. I recognise there's a lot of males, young males. I recognise that absolutely. But there's also, as we know, there are females, there are children. You're going to do the same with them.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, you know, where we go.
It would be humane. It would be secure.
It's about incentives, right?
But what do you think about the idea that if you've entered the country illegally, you're detained? Because the problem I've got, Reem, is I think it's a red herring to say close the hotels, because yes, they're a disgrace. But what's the difference if it's a nearby ex-army barracks, which is also neighbouring a primary school or a shopping centre? It's the same problem shifted somewhere else.
Part of the problem is that we don't know who these people are, and I think basically we have to have an honest conversation about why they are coming in the first place. I am very, very pro economic migration. These people are coming to the UK majoritively, if they are coming from a safe country like France, because of the economic opportunities that we have in the United Kingdom. So let's be honest about this. Why are British people then upset about this? Well, a lot of them come in huge masses as a result of basically government subsidies, right? So effectively the government will say, I'm going to give you a free hotel room in this particular area, and so you have mass amounts of those people. They're not going to integrate. They very, very are unlikely to work. Integration occurs if people actually want to come here and work and contribute. Integration occurs from working with British people, but this isn't what happens at the moment, and that is why, quite rightly, lots of people are very, very upset.
They are, but it's kind of blown out of all proportion. Let's make something clear.
Jim,
let's
how
go
dare you
back.
tell
Let's
people
go
it's
back
blown out of
4
proportion?
years.
You
Let's
can't
go
tell
back.
people
Is
how
it
to
4
feel.
years, 5 years
Tell
to
Richard in
Brexit?
Poole, who's in
No.
tears as a result of what's happened to Brighton.
Let's go back. Well, okay, so let's go back to Brexit. Okay, when it came in, the promise
this
was...
is woke bingo, isn't it? We've had climate change, now Brexit.
Climate change,
Well, look,
racism, I mean, what's next?
The point about Brexit was it was supposed to secure the borders.
Most
Remember,
definitely. Agree with that.
Farage, etc.
Agree with that.
Failed.
That's
No,
not the
it
fault of
didn't
Brexit.
fail. Jim, it didn't fail. What happened is when we left the European Union, we continued to keep and be a membership of the ECHR. We have huge regulations, and even from an economics perspective, we have tariffs and quotas
ECHR is
that
there
we've
for
inherited
very
from
many
the
reasons,
European
as you
Union.
know.
But Jim, the point is, leaving the European Union, Brexit was about taking back control of our own legislation, of our own sovereignty.
Was the
Indeed,
word.
and this is
Correct.
about choice.
It never happened.
You're right
because the
about
government
that.
made
No
bad
one
choices.
No
Yes.
one, Jim,
So-
no
so
one would
it
disagree
wasn't
with you.
Brexit.
So
It's the
let's go back
government's
to Farage and let's go back to Johnson, because they were the
Johnson.
architects of
No.
Brexit.
You've got to go back to Johnson, definitely. Hey, we don't have to disagree.
We're not defending Johnson's record
absolutely
at all.
everything you've said is right about how the Tories started this. They had the migrant hotels. They opened the borders. They didn't stop the boats. 100%. That is not the fault of Brexit, right? It's not the fault of your front door if you don't lock it at night. Okay, and that's the point about
That's a great
Brexit,
analogy.
is it hasn't been executed and leveraged in the way that it will be probably when Reform win. But here's a question, right? What would you say to the women of Bournemouth, Poole, Eastbourne, who are being harassed by men who are in the country illegally, who are intimidating and who are making life a misery for them?
Yeah,
what do you say to those
exactly
women?
the same way that people are intimidated in various ways by drunkards, by others, etc. Yeah,
No.
hang on a second. Yeah, because
I don't
that
think so. I
happens
think young
in
women...
greater society per se.
You can't compare local revellers with illegal migrants who have a completely different attitude to women.
Yeah, it becomes a legal issue. It's got to be.
It's not the same as the lads down the pub.
No, it isn't. And look, the problem is, the real problem here is that, yes, Jim is right. If you are a woman, you are probably more likely to be harassed by a British person than you are by a migrant, because there are more British people than migrants. However, per capita, they are more likely to do so. You are more likely to be somebody that does that kind of thing, somebody that does that kind of horrendous crime, if you are a migrant, because per capita they do more of that, right? So that's why there is clearly an issue here. And I think the problem is these people aren't coming to work and to seek out those employment opportunities, and they actually aren't allowed to, right?
You don't fully know
Jim, let me
that.
finish. When you're on the asylum backlog, you're not allowed to work, and you're actually forced to be burdens on the taxpayer. And I think that's the fundamental point here. I am pro-immigration when people are able to come here. The government has gone in the way and basically created a magnet for people to come into this country illegally, and British people are being forced to pay for it.
Well, one of the things that actually, again, that failed with the last government was the system. just got jammed, if you like. In other words, thousands and thousands of people, because they weren't processing, finding out where they were coming from, why they were here, where they were going to work.
They throw their documents out. They don't want to know.
That's now being speeded up as well. We know.
Well,
so
it doesn't fix the problem to let everyone in.
You can't just click your fingers and things are going to be better in a year.
Yes, you can. You can click your fingers.
You cannot.
Yeah.
You can't be a Rupert Lowe.
You can click your fingers.
Saying, just send them back.
I don't agree with it.
Pathetic simpleton.
No. It's not pathetic simpleton. That's horrendously rude. I don't agree with the approach, but Trump did click his fingers and basically
overnight ended illegal immigration.
Problems in America.
Agree. Look, I'm
massive divisions.
Jim, I've just said I'm not supportive of that approach.
He's closed the border.
Look, I'm not supportive of that approach. However, it is possible, and so to say it isn't possible is untrue.
You could have an act of parliament to leave the ECHR within a week.
Yeah, I think that creates...
You could call the commander of the Royal Navy and say, turn the boats around. You can build emergency Nightingale prisons for anyone that crosses the border from, I would say, a week today. OK, we did that during COVID for those pathetic Nightingale hospitals that were never used.
Well, as I say, it's almost like simple answers, but these simple answers...
Click a finger. It's easy.
They do not, because if it was that easy... If it was that easy, this government would do it.
I'll tell you why, Reem, because the political will is not there. That's why it's not easy.
It is ultimately about the politics, isn't it? Look, the ECHR is part of that. Every time we have tried to deport somebody, they've appealed it to the Supreme Court, and then it's meant that it's basically... Not to the Supreme Court, sorry, to the ECHR, and it has basically meant that we've not been able to do any of that. But again, look, we've just got to stop. My view is, stop making British people pay for migration. That's it. If you stop the magnet, the pull factor, then fundamentally the people that come to this country will be contributing, will be working, will be supporting the economy as a whole.
No, I think actually if they came to this country, the crime would get even greater, because they would have zero support, zero money, and their reason then to go on the streets and burgle or do what they want to do would be higher, not lower.
I would rather than those people leave fundamentally.
OK, well, listen, should the Prime Minister Keir Starmer bring back the Rwanda plan to stop the boats? And also, if you put a flag in your garden, is that because you want Britain to be an only white country? That is what the ex-cocaine snorting star of Blue Peter, Richard Bacon, has said. We'll discuss that next. Folks, so much to get through. It has kicked off. It is a little bit like a boxing match this morning in the head-to-head with my two brilliant guests, Reem Ibrahim and Jim Dale. Mark says, Lisa in Durham, which gated community does Mr. Weatherman live in? He obviously has no connection with the real world. And an interesting one from, let's have a look, an unnamed texter. Don't be afraid of sending people back to Afghanistan. As we've seen recently, it's a holiday destination for some people. Andy in Bridgend says, good morning, Mark. You don't need coffee to wake up in the morning. You just need to listen to Reem and Jim to get your fully alert mental state and ready to take on the day. Great show. Andy, thank you for that. Regarding illegal immigration, Tim is a UK veteran and has said the answer to hotels, detention centres on remote military bases, just like I had to live on. I don't care what others say. I don't care what others say. Jim Dale says a better life. He needs to wake up. I served to protect him. George in Corby. Hi, Mark. As an immigrant who came to this lovely country from Cyprus in 1960, I can only describe the likes of Gary Neville as traitors. Well, there's been a massive reaction to today's Dolan's dispatch. And it was all about the fact that Lenny Henry wants Britain to spend £17 trillion on slavery reparations. Gary Neville thinks it's racist to fly the flag. And now, ex-Blue Peter star, BBC star Richard Bacon, said this on Newsnight this week.
There are times when it's fine and it's celebratory, when Jerry Halliwell was wearing Union Jack pants in the late 90s. That was all fun and playful. Right now, it's a very sensitive subject. I think right now, if you stick a pole and a Union Jack tomorrow outside your house, I think you're making a statement. And I think that statement is probably that you prefer Britain to be more white.
The context is being curated and invented by the identity politicians. That's the problem.
But that's quite a thing to say. If you put a flag in your garden, you're saying you want Britain to be more white.
I think you're making a statement right now. I think right now it's a sensitive subject, and I think to do it now, to get the pole and put the flag outside your house right now, I think you are making a statement.
Fascinating excerpt there from BBC's Newsnight in the company and alongside Talk's very own, the brilliant Alex Phillips. Reem Ibrahim, do you think that people who put a flag in their garden want Britain to be a white country?
Some of them may, but I don't think it means that they do. Obviously not. I mean, that's ridiculous. What's so interesting about this is a lot of the people on the left will say, you know, the English flag is, you know, so associated with the EDL. And then as soon as people start to take that back and say, no, the English flag is our English flag. It has nothing to do with racism or the far right. I just want to be proud to be English. Then they're still complaining.
Yeah,
Jim?
which is exactly what the Labour Party conference did when they brought out all their little flags. Exactly what you said. It's that. Look, what we're seeing is an element of the people who put flags in their gardens or paint roundabouts or hang up lampposts, etc., blah, blah, blah. There is an element of truth in what Richard is actually saying.
God, no.
There's an element of truth.
It's
without
a lie.
shadow. No, look, listen.
Flat
There
lie.
will be... Look, throughout history, we've had nationalistic people who want basically this all-white nation.
You think it's racist to be proud to be English?
No. Let make it clear. I'm trying to be diplomatic as possible about this. I'm saying there's an element. Okay, there's an element. We should be proud of the flag when it is something to be proud of. For example, winning the World Cup. For example, the Olympics. For example, if we send somebody to the moon, that's when you wave your flags. Sticking.
No.
I'm absolutely outraged by this.
What is painting a roundabout
It's showing that we're proud to be English. My God, every other country does. Every other country seems perfectly capable of using their own national flag and not having absolutely stupid conversations about racism. No, I disagree.
This is just
What's hilarious about this is What's hilarious about this, I'm a third-generation migrant, right? My grandparents came from North Africa, and I am very, very proud to say England is a fantastic country and you should fly your flag if you want to. That is your prerogative.
And I'm a plastic paddy myself. But my question to you is regarding this suggestion that people have the flag, they want Britain to be a white country. That must be what? 0.1% of the population?
Yeah, look, there may very be, but the point is...
Where are all these white supremacists, Jim? Do
well,
they live on your street?
They're at the front
Which
of that.
pubs do they drink in? Because I've never met them.
Well, look, you do see them, and you know the Trafalgar.
Where do you see them?
Trafalgar.
How can you tell what they look like? They got white skin. That's enough, isn't it?
A lot of them.
If you're white, you're racist.
Look, a lot of them battle the police, as we know. They are that way inclined. They go back to the National Front.
More than the genocide protesters at the hate marches.
I'm not going to defend him, but even Tommy Robinson says, he loves the Sikh community. He talks to them regularly. He likes the Hindu community. Even Tommy Robinson is not an ethno-nationalist.
So what are these flag wavers? Listen to me. What are these flag wavers who turned up a few weeks ago? And I'm talking now the front rank of them, battling with the police, throwing stuff at horses. What are they?
There's a black lady at the front.
Are you talking about Unite the Kingdom?
Yeah, I am.
There was a black lady at the front of the Unite the Kingdom march.
Yeah, it was a diverse makeup. But the other thing about those protests, right, that this was, I think, just under 20 arrests, half of which came from far-left agitators causing trouble. It was the most peaceful march in the history of this country. I don't think about 500,000 people were on that march.
I don't think you saw the TV pictures in terms of what was going on.
That's because you've been watching Sky News and the BBC.
I'll watch a range of programme because that's what you need to do to get a full picture.
By the evidence, there were way less arrests at those marches than there have been in any other march.
Including the Notting Hill Carnival.
The size, oh God, I mean, would you ban Notting Hill Carnival?
No, I wouldn't, to be honest.
There was almost no trouble at that march. Possibly 500,000 people there, 20 arrests. I'll take that. I think you get more arrests at a Tottenham game.
Go back and look at the video and you'll see those people. And that's the people I'm meaning. That's the minority, and they are the minority.
But this is
that
the point.
Are essentially racist.
So therefore, it is not racist to fly the England flag. There may be racists that fly the England flag. However, it is not fundamentally racist to fly the England flag. Would you agree?
I would say that there is an element of people who fly that flag who are racist.
Fine, there may be, but is it racist to fly the England flag? But is it racist to fly the England flag?
No, it's not racist. No, of course it's not. But there is an element that will be, and do it for that reason.
Therefore, he was wrong, right?
No, Gary Neville was absolutely right.
You've just said it is not racist to fly the England flag.
I'll quote for you, okay? Angry white middle-aged men. What he meant by that, by the way, and I looked at that video several times, he's not actually meaning the people who are out there demonstrating or flying the flag. He's actually looking at the likes of Farage, Generic and others. Those are the angry, white, middle-aged men he's talking about.
No, he's not. He's talking about the builders who work for him.
So you're saying the Farage is racist?
Yes, he did, because he said on one of his building sites he took a flag down.
That doesn't matter.
So he's talking about the people he employs.
He's got as much prerogative to take that down as people to put it up. So leave that aside. What he's actually aiming at, and I looked at that video very, very carefully. Go back and look and you'll see. He's aiming at those at the top, the leaders of these parties.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
But hold on, but
yes,
let's
he
just
is.
take
No, he
this
said,
at
I
face
walked around, I've
value.
seen all these flags, and I blame middle-aged white men
No,
who know what they're doing.
You're not quoting him incorrectly. You need to go back and look at that video. I've looked at it several times. I was on BBC Radio 4 on an hour's programme on this one, and I wanted to get it right and see where he was coming from. And the reason he didn't go on and say, oh, it's these people, or name Farage or whatever, obviously he's protecting his own job. But you look at it and you can very, very easily see that his aim is at those stirring the pot at the top.
Who is stirring the pot?
Generic, Farage, Tice.
How are they stirring the pot?
Because they are basically being divisive in terms of their language.
Divisive?
By their language, by what they do and how they do it.
By saying it's not British honest. People feel is that divisive?
No. All right. If we want to talk about the majority of people, according to the Gigapol, of 43,000 people, 69% of people are happy with their racial arrangement. In other words, where they live and who they live with and who they're mixing with. That's 69%. 69%. Okay.
As we've heard from the wonderful callers of this show, Mark, there are lots and lots of people that are very upset with the current situation, and I don't believe it is racist to be upset with how this country
I don't believe that
going.
either. I'm not saying that.
Okay, well look, let me tell you, the show's all about opinions, and it's been great to have both of your opinions. You've absolutely owned it this morning. Reem Ibrahim, communications manager at the IEA, and the excellent Jim Dale, author of Whether or Not. Let's get a plug in because he's got bills to pay, and a very, very entertaining political commentator.